Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, and if you've been following our breakdowns of the MCU movies, then you'll know there's a lot of incredible shots in them that reappear throughout the franchise to signify certain elements and aspects. Throughout this video, we'll be breaking down the best parallels in the Infinity Saga, which will hopefully help you to appreciate the movies more. Obviously, there will be heavy spoilers here, so if you haven't had a chance to watch all of the films from Iron Man to Far From Home, then I highly recommend that you turn off now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for Marvel videos every week, and please drop a thumbs up if you enjoy the breakdown. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into our breakdown of the best MCU parallels. Okay, so the first big one happens in 2008's Iron Man, and it doesn't come full circle until Infinity War 10 years later. In the original movie, Tony is double-crossed by his good friend Obidiah Stane, who decides that the arc reactor being used as a weapon is more important than the character's life. He paralyzes Tony and takes the reactor from his chest, which leaves him at death's door. Now mirroring this in Infinity War, Thanos stabs Tony with his own blade, which too critically injures the character. Obidiah respectfully says his goodbyes to Tony, and this is mirrored in Thanos, who does the same thing. In both moments, Tony's life is saved by someone else, as firstly in Iron Man, Dummy hands him his arc reactor, and in Infinity War, Doctor Strange hands over the Time Stone to Thanos. We sort of have everything coming full circle throughout these scenes, with Tony going on to fight his first big bad in Stane, and then the last one that he would fight, which was of course Thanos. Here it is sort of setting up his first and final big battles. It sort of shows the beginning and the end, and this is an incredible detail that brings everything full circle. Similarly, the first and last time that we see the Iron Man helmet are both shot in similar ways. When Tony makes the Mark I in the cave, he places the faceplate down, and this shot is later reused in Avengers Endgame to deliver his parting message to his family. It really is a brilliant use of repetition, and it shows how much Marvel pay attention to their cinematography. Thanos is also a sort of opposite to Tony, as Tony is willing to sacrifice himself to create a better universe for his daughter, whereas Thanos is willing to sacrifice his daughter to make a better universe for himself. When Tony dies, his friends and family, namely Pepper, all stand around him and say their goodbyes, giving them the closure, as well as Tony, who passes away safe in the knowledge that things are going to be alright. The angle of this shot has been purposely picked to call back to the bath moment in Civil War, in which Tony says goodbye to his parents. We know that the character never got the chance to do this in real life, and thus he used the hologram technology as a sort of therapy to do it. He always wished that he had the opportunity to properly say goodbye to his parents, but here the Avengers and Pepper actually get the chance to, which is sort of a bittersweet ending for the character. Now, another interesting aspect in Infinity War ties in with the notion of sacrifice and how ultimately it leads to the Avengers losing. Thanos is willing to sacrifice his daughter Gamora in the movie, and because of this he gains the stones. This is juxtaposed by Loki and Doctor Strange, both of which characters are in possession of a stone, but they refuse to sacrifice someone's life and instead hand them over. Initially, Loki says that he doesn't care if his brother lives or dies, which is similar to how Doctor Strange says that if it's a choice between Tony, Peter Parker or the stone, that he will always choose the latter. However, both end up caving in when Thanos calls their bluff, and even the way that they hand over the stones is meant to mirror one another to show that they're not willing to make a tough choice. Similarly, the Avengers' first win and their first loss are both shot in similar ways, showing the moments and how they parallel one another. In Avengers, we can see that as Tony lies on the ground, the heroes crowd around him. This is supposed to be a happy moment in which they breathe a sigh of relief and finally get the victory that they've been fighting for the entire film. However, in Infinity War, it's put in place to show the opposite, and Vision lies there dead on the ground whilst the ashes of their friends surround them. It's a really poetic way to show the difference between a win and a loss, and it works brilliantly in my opinion. The Infinity Saga is full of characters that repeat the arcs of others, and nowhere is this seen more than in Nebula and Loki. Both just wanted a sibling and a partner, but they were left feeling ostracized because of their opposites' more competitive nature. They even share similar lines of dialogue in which they say that they want to get off a planet, just wanted a brother or sister, and that they have pretty much lived in the shadow of Gamora and Thor respectively. I love Loki in general, and there's an amazing moment in both the first Thor and Ragnarok where he and his brother share a moment together in which they realize how much they mean to one another. Side by side, the echoing of these shots across their trilogy really shows how much the entire 3-movie arc centers around the pair's relationship, and it's great to see Loki changing over the course of the movies just like how Nebula does. Whilst we haven't seen Guardians Volume 3 yet, I guarantee that they will do something similar with Neb, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. Now, these aren't the only characters that follow a similar sort of arc to someone else, and Peter is of course walking in the shoes of Tony and becoming one of the world's best defenders. Now, this is quite an obvious one, but it is worth bringing up to show their similarities. The first real sound that we hear in the MCU is the song Back in Black by AC/DC, and this is used as a way to introduce Tony Stark. It sort of becomes his anthem, and it purposely reappears in Far From Home when Peter is building his new suit. Now, side by side, these scenes gain a lot more weight to them as we see just how similar the pair are with one another and the way that they create and build things. I love the holographic arm that appears in Far From Home, and it really hammers home the idea that Peter is going to become the next Iron Man, and he's finally accepted his role as one of Earth's mightiest heroes. Now, jumping across to the Winter Soldier, we can also see how similar Bucky and Cap really are. Throughout the movie, we learn that Hydra are in fact a part of S.H.I.E.L.D., and when you think about it, Bucky and Steve pretty much work in different departments in the same building. Now, the iconography of the pair is laced throughout both the Winter Soldier and the First Avenger, and it's definitely worth discussing. Both share a moment in which they salute, and though this is a common army practice, it's purposely shot in a similar manner to showcase the commonality between the two. This is carried across to when we get the first reveal of the pair, and both the angle of the camera, their positioning, and the way that we approach them is similar, but one is meant to show Steve in a place where he's managed to get through the pain, whereas Bucky is constantly being subjected to it. Both fly a jet at one point, and both visit the Captain America Museum wearing similar clothing and trying to keep incognito. It really hammers home the idea that they are pretty much opposite sides of the same coin. While Steve would go on to work for S.H.I.E.L.D., Bucky would go on to work for Hydra, and these two super soldiers eventually met in the middle after parting ways with the people that pretty much controlled them. There's also a brilliant shot when Steve goes to Wakanda for the first time that is repeated for his return visit, and when you look at these, you realise how much of a journey the character has gone on and how much it's changed him. I love these moments, and it's things like this that make the MCU really stand out. And finally is the similarities between Steve and Tony's sacrifice. At one point in the Infinity Saga, both characters have to lay down their lives in order to stop a bomb. For Steve it's whilst flying the Hydra plane, and for Tony it's flying the nuke out of New York and into space in order to destroy the Chitauri. In these moments they both reflect on the ones that they love, and an image of them is shown on the screen. For Steve it's his picture of Peggy, whereas for Tony it's as he tries to call Pepper, but both hold the same meaning. The way that they put their lives on the line is shot to convey just how much their sacrifice will mean, and it's a really heart-pounding moment. Now, whilst Tony survived, Steve didn't, and it would be a long time before he finally got to get that dance with Peggy. In the end, both got to spend time with their loved ones, and I love how similar these moments truly are, and how they ultimately pay off in the same way. Now, obviously, I'd love to know which ones on the list are your favourites, and if you have any that should have made it, then make sure you comment below and let me know. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a thumbs up, and make sure you check out our breakdown of the entire MCU Infinity Saga scene by scene, which is going to be linked at the end. We've gone through every film and put it all in chronological order, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want to know more. If you want to support the channel from as little as 99 cents a month, then please click the join button below. We massively appreciate it, and as a thank you, you get access to content early. If you want to come chat to us after the show, either follow us at Heavy Spoilers or click the Discord link in the description below. Every month we give away free movies to people who are subscribed to the channel, and this month you can win the MCU Infinity Saga box set, and all you have to do is comment on a video and make sure you subscribe with notifications on. The more videos you comment on, the more you have a chance of winning, so make sure you get involved. The winner is going to be chosen at random on the 15th of July, and the set will be shipped out from then to whoever gets the prize, so best of luck to everyone who takes part. Cheers.